Hello, my name is King Yi Chan. I am a regulatory analyst at the BC Utilities Commission. Today, I am going to provide a brief overview of our retail pilot final report. Fuel prices have been a growing concern for British Columbians over the past several years. In 2019, the BCUC's fuel price inquiry looked at the factors impacting fuel prices in our province. Through the inquiry, we found that 10 to 13 cents of the wholesale price of fuel in BC was unexplained. The inquiry report also found anomalies in the retail market, such as stations monitoring and reacting to price changes at other stations, resulting in numerous price adjustments throughout the course of a day. This past year, the BCUC focused on the retail portion of the market by gathering data from gas stations as part of a retail pilot. Over the next few minutes, I will share our recommendations to the BC government, details on the retail pilot, and how the public was involved. The BCUC is an administrator of BC's Fuel Price Transparency Act, or FPT Act for short. As administrator, the BCUC was directed by the BC government to undertake a retail data collection pilot. The intent of the pilot was to help inform the development of future reporting regulations aimed at the retail portion of the BC's fuel market. The BCUC collected data from a group of 87 retail stations across BC on a pilot basis from November 2020 to November 2021. During the pilot, we collected information about site amenities, types and brands of fuel, daily sales volume, and fuel purchases, among other things. The BCUC issued a final report on March 31, 2022 to summarize the results of the retail pilot and to provide recommendations to the BC government. The BCUC's recommendations aim to balance the desire for greater public transparency regarding the retail fuel market with the cost of regulation. They also support the purpose of the FPT Act, which is to promote the competitiveness of the BC fuel market and the public confidence in the competitiveness of that market. Our recommendations fell into four primary categories, which I will outline now. Retail purchase data. We recommend requiring wholesale fuel companies to provide the BCUC with data on the fuel sales to retail stations rather than collecting this data from individual retail stations. Retail market characteristics. We recommend requiring all retail dealers across the province to complete a simple survey each year on their retail station characteristics, including, among other things, pump services, site amenities, and ownership structure. Retail sales data. We recommend implementing a strategic and customizable approach to gathering data on retail sales to end consumers. This reporting would focus on aspects of the market that are not explained by wholesaler and publicly available information, and will be backed up with retail station audits as necessary. We would also recommend that input be gathered from industry participants to ensure that the form of information collected from retail stations is consistent with common industry standards. Finally, we provide recommendations on which participants in the retail market should be required to report. The existing FPT regulations includes a definition of a retail dealer. We recommended using the same definition for any regulations aimed at the retail portion of the market and requiring these retail dealers to report data to the BCUC. We recommended, number one, exempting certain types of fuel from reporting consistent with existing exemptions from BC's Motor Fuel Tax Act and Carbon Tax Act. And number two, that the provincial government engage with Indigenous communities and their governments to work collaboratively on developing reporting requirements for Indigenous-owned stations and retail stations located on Indigenous lands. We also recommended allowing the BCUC flexibility to determine who should report if no specific exemptions or exclusions are prescribed in the regulation. Prior to issuing a final report to the BC government, the BCUC issued a draft public report outlining our proposed recommendations. The BCUC sought feedback from the public on the proposed recommendations in several different ways and incorporated the feedback we received into the final report to the BC government. The BCUC hosted 3 online public workshops to provide more information on the proposed recommendations. They included a presentation by BCUC staff and offered attendees the opportunity to ask questions and provide comments on the public report. In total, 30 people attended the workshops. Attendees were split on whether BCUC's proposed recommendation for the ongoing reporting of retail fuel data was adequate or too much reporting. Attendees were also neutral on the BCUC's proposed approach to require reporting from retail stations located in areas of concern. The BCUC received 6 letters of comments from the public and participants in the retail fuel market. The public wanted more information on fuel supply, taxes, competition between retail stations. Fuel companies stressed the cost of ongoing reporting and the need for commercial sensitive data to remain confidential. The BCUC also conducted a public survey. We received 975 responses. 79% agreed with our recommendation to collect retail shipment information from the wholesale fuel marketers selling to the retail market, rather than from individual retail stations purchasing the fuel. 84% agreed with our recommendation to require all retail dealers in the province to complete a simple survey each year. 85% supported the BCUC auditing the financial or operational activities, regulatory compliance, and the accuracy of fuel data that retail dealers submit to the BCUC. Respondents were almost evenly split on the BCUC's recommendation to align the reporting requirement exemptions with the exemptions for the BC motor fuel and carbon tax, and most respondents were in favor of more industry reporting rather than less. As noted earlier, the BCUC submitted its final report to the BC government on March 31, 2022. The BC government is now reviewing the BCUC's report and will determine next steps as appropriate. In the meantime, the BCUC continues its work collecting data from the wholesale fuel industry per the FPT regulations, as well as its data investigation special projects. In March, we announced 2 new data exploration projects. They include monitoring retail and wholesale price margins to ensure fuel companies in BC are not taking advantage of the current market conditions and unfairly increasing the price of fuel for consumers, and requiring wholesalers who supply retail stations in BC to submit data related to margins on reportable fuel sales, volume, and transport costs for the past 3 years to help explain how retail prices are set in select cities. Learn more about our ongoing efforts at gaspricesbc.ca. Thank you for watching.